We've been talking about the border for a long time here on this channel. In particular, had some concerns about Kamala Harris and how she is handling the so-called border crisis. Well, I call it that, and many other people do, but the White House so far has kind of been a little bit mum on that phraseology, saying that a lot of this is just kind of coming from root causes. It's all sort of a natural ebbs and flow of immigration. And it's been a little bit of kind of hands-off approach until very recently, when Kamala Harris went down to Guatemala and she wanted to go solve the root cause problem about immigration, because, you know, it's not really anything to do about the actual border, like the interface between the United States and Mexico. It's more about the root causes, about things that are taking place in Guatemala, like climate change and some other, you know, concepts that she thinks are ultimately causing the push of people and the pull of people into the United States. So she goes down there and she kind of scolds them, you know, in Guatemala. Hey, don't you come over here. I know I just got done for like about a full year, really, in about 2019, begging that you believe that I am a humanitarian person who cares about the immigration plight that is taking place throughout the world, and that she's going to be somebody who's actually empathetic, as opposed to the racist former, you know, Donald Trump, who was just sort of an absolute monster when it came to immigration. Kids in cages. So Kamala was going to come and fix all this problem for us, goes down to Guatemala, wags her fingers. They kind of don't like that. So she picks up, goes over to Mexico, does the same thing. Everybody's kind of looking around saying, what is she coming down here for? Her administration made the changes in the policies that exacerbated the current problem. She created incentives, and many of the very immigrants who are making the trek across the scalding desert are verifying that for us. We've played clips here on the channel where they say, yeah, why are you coming here? Well, Kamala and Biden said to come on over here. So that's the cause, in my opinion. It's the incentivization of the migration that is ultimately the problem that is causing good people to uproot their entire families, cram themselves into U-Hauls at 106 degrees, or stack themselves on top of one another on flatbed trailers that are coming across this border in order to reach a little bit of that fake false promise that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden promised. So these great humanitarians are causing a humanitarian crisis by their inane policies. But okay, so I've never, as you can tell, never had much faith in Kamala Harris or the current administration's policies. It all seemed political. It seemed much more about appeasing their Twitter base than it ever had to do about fixing a humanitarian crisis. It's not about the immigrants. It's about the people who are pretending to be for the immigrants, who are screaming from their phones on Twitter, complaining about racism in America, right? So they're the ones that these policies are really helping, more or less, helping to satiate their deluded worldview, but it's actually harming the immigrants. It's actually harming people. It's causing people to pick up and try to come here. And there are many, I'm certain of it, are dying that we never even hear about on the journey over. We just heard that there were 13 people that got picked up in a U-Haul that were all taken to the hospital. Something like 33 people were in the back of the U-Haul, and 13 of them were hospitalized with heat exhaustion and all sorts of, you know, borderline heat stroke. So that's just what we're able to help at the border. Who knows how many people are dying on the trek from Guatemala up through Mexico to try to make it here. So I'm sure the numbers are just abounding. But the point here is I've never had any confidence in Kamala Harris. I think her record as a prosecutor and attorney general were both reprehensible. Her record now on another humanitarian crisis that's working its way up through our southern border is also reprehensible. Good news is I am in good company, because 56 Republicans here signed a letter saying that they also think that she's basically useless on this issue. The Republicans, as they've done for months, noted that Harris has not visited the border yet. Some Democratic lawmakers who represent the areas have called on her to go there. We've got Rep. Gren Glothman, 55 other Republicans in the House. They demanded Harris's removal from her border assignment, citing a recent Customs and Border Protection data that shows 180,000 people were apprehended last month after crossing the border illegally, right? And we remember what happened here. And this was back, I think, in March. Biden brought Kamala into the White House and said, oh, you're super smart. I trust you with this issue. Here you go. And almost immediately, Kamala was like backpedaling from this thing, and rightfully so. She should have done so, because it's almost an impossible issue to fix. It's been a problem my entire life. Both parties on both sides of the aisle have been sort of kicking the ball back and forth, sending it over to one side. They send it back over to the other side. You're a racist. No, you're a racist. No, you're a racist. And here we go. And, it's never going to be solved, essentially, because I think both parties have a vested interest in making sure that it is not solved. So Kamala knew exactly that she was being handed a bag of excrement from Joe Biden. And so I'm not going to the border at all. I don't want to even associate my image with that, even in the slightest. So she has not been down there. Now, Harris has defended not going, and she says that she's going to go at some point in the future. When she visited Guatemala, she said that the root causes really should be addressed. However, her explanation to reporters in Mexico about why hasn't she visited the border yet overshadowed her trip, saying the White House is aiming to boost economic development in the region. So that's good. So maybe we'll see a change in 15, 20 years once the entire economic infrastructure of Guatemala changes. How about this month or next year? She told reporters it would be, quote, very easy. We'll travel to one place and therefore it's solved. I don't think anybody thinks that would be the solution. What does that mean? When pressed about visiting the border again, Harris said she did so when she was a senator from California. Yeah, we played that ridiculous clip. I think she was with... who was that guy? I think CNN guy. All right. So a dozen Republican senators have demanded the immediate release of a Biden administration blueprint for expanding and overhauling the immigration system. Kind of amazing they don't have that already, according to a draft that was obtained by selected media, but it was not disclosed to Congress or the general public. So it sounds like the White House has a blueprint, something they're working on. We'll see what it is. In a joint letter to Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, senators demand the release of a 46-page draft called the DHS Plan to Restore Our Trust in Our Legal Immigration System. It's a nice title. Which was first reported by the New York Times, reportedly maps out the Biden's plan for a significant expansion of the immigration system. So they're moving on to immigration next. We got infrastructure they got to wrap up before they go wreck the immigration system. According to the New York Times, the blueprint lists scores of initiatives intended to reopen the country to more immigrants. Okay. Well, not just rolling back some Trump-era policies, but also addressing backlogs and delays that plagued prior presidents. Most of the document's policy proposals could not be implemented by executive authority, would require a broader overhaul of U.S. immigration laws, according to the report. So we have this letter that was drafted. This is coming over to the Honorable Alejandro Mayorkas here from the U.S. Senate. So they're saying, hey, dear Mayorkas, a couple of things we want to talk about today. We write to request that you immediately release that document, the DHS Plan to Restore Trust in Our Legal Immigration System. I mean, I like that on theory. That sounds good to me. What's the plan? This document, which was reported by New York Times, contains details of the president's plan to use and abuse executive authority to reshape our system. We are troubled by the reporting on this document. We want to see it. They say it's disturbing that the DHS would keep this kind of information hidden from Congress and the public, but yet share it with the media. These proposals have the potential to compromise the integrity of our entire immigration system and national security and public safety. The fact that this is being withheld from Congress is troubling, considering we have an ongoing crisis at the border. Policies allegedly proposed would double down on erasing the successful policies of the Trump administration that actually secured the border and restored the rule of law. We are deeply concerned these policies are going to continue to act as a pull factor. We talked about this yesterday. Okay, Kamala Harris went down to Guatemala and said that it was about a push, that it's the economic conditions. It's about the climate change. I mean, I know I keep saying that one, but I just can't believe, okay, if she's going to go solve climate change in Guatemala, that's fine. But it's about the idea that they're pushing them out and that the only place that they have to go is America. We should be open and empathetic to them, which I can understand that to some degree. But what happened with Kamala was she said, yeah, come on over. And then now goes down there and says, nope, sorry, doors closed. Don't come anymore. And the real problem with this is that her policies don't match the rhetoric. The policies are still acting as pull factors, that you can still come to the border, claim asylum, and you're going to wait in the United States. You don't have to remain in Mexico, which is the main policy change that many people are saying was the impetus for this entire new surge in migration. Okay, back to the letter. So they want access to this document. We're going to see if we can get it at some point. But in addition, the policies proposed in this document, they're going to open up new ways for immigrants to enter the country legally that extend well beyond the plain text and the meaning of the law. So sort of redefining an underlying term. While there are many rational suggestions for reform in this document, these are decisions that must be made by Congress. Congress alone, not the stroke of the pen by the president. A decision with such serious public safety consequences should be open and accessible, but instead DHS has kept this information from everybody except somebody in the media, which sounds about right. In order for Congress to exercise its legislative and oversight authority, we request that you immediately release the document dated on May 3rd and any other documents. They want it no later than July 15th. It's about 3 weeks from now. Failure to share the documents by that date will be treated as an obstruction of legitimate congressional oversight. We appreciate your prompt attention to this matter. Signed off on, let's see, a bunch of senators. We got Mike Lee over here. We got Rick Scott. We got Cindy Hyde-Smith, Susan Collins, Maine. We got Bill Hagerty, Kramer, Inhofe, Ron Johnson. We got Tuberville, Daines, Ernst, and Tom Tillis. So got a whole bunch of senators now signing off on that. Let's see what else we have. Looks like this is a letter from the congressional Republicans now. Same type of letter. Let's see what we have here. This is coming over from Congress. So we just covered the Senate. It says we got Rep. Glenn Grothman over here. Says the VP still hasn't visited the border. You can't truly know the situation until you speak with people on the ground. I and 55 of my colleagues sent this letter demanding, right? So they're sending the same thing. So we got the senators over here. Now we've got the Republicans in the House of Representatives saying, hey, we want to express our concerns about the Vice President Harris, her visit to the border. In May, we had 180,000 people coming across. That was just 23,000 compared to last year, which I actually think is a little bit disingenuous on that, okay? I actually don't think it was that significant. I think that comparing 21 to 20 is a little bit disingenuous because 20 was a lost year. Kind of just erase that one, I think, from the numbers. And we've gone through the numbers. I think it was 180,000 up from, I can't remember, a lot, right? It was up pretty considerably. Another like 70,000 people, I think, from 110 in 2019, maybe up to 180. But it's still a very big number. It's just not as big because I don't think anybody was really trying to come across back during the COVID era. If you remember, we looked at an actual chart, sort of a bar chart, graph chart, and I think it was like, and it looks like this all the time. And then this is currently right now. Then this was where we're at currently. And then in 2020, I'm sorry, let me do this again. We'll say this was 2020. So this will be January through December. Then we have in 2019, it was actually like this. And then now in 2020, it's like this, right? It's like way near the top. So it's sort of different. We covered them all. Forget about what I just drew there. All right, moving on. We have President Harris wrongly presumes that the root causes only stem from the migrant's country of origin. It says, even if we assume that the root causes only stem from the country of origin, our exclusive focus on Central America ignores the fact that many migrants attempt to legally cross our southern border from all countries like Russia, Brazil, Cuba, Haiti, so on. We're also aware of no dramatic changes in Central American countries over the last few months that would result in such a wide gap of encounters. So he's saying, we're looking at the numbers here, Kamala, and we went back and we looked at the last 5 years. And we looked at what has changed related to root causes in the origin countries. We haven't found anything. So what accounts for this sudden surge? He says 675%. I think it's like 300% really. But it's still a surge. So if it is a root cause problem that caused the surge, you would imagine that there was something there that changed, right? That actually made the migration increase. What is that? So they went through and they looked, they couldn't find anything. He says, additionally, the presumption ignores the role of policy decisions that were made in the first 4 months of your administration. Maybe those play a role in enticing migrants to illegally cross our southern border. Perhaps if the vice president took a moment to speak with our border patrol agents who are on the front lines of this crisis, or even the thousands of migrants currently held in our border facilities, she and your administration would be able to grasp this reality. They go on, they say, at the time of her appointment, you stated, I can think of nobody who is better qualified to do this. We disagree. The country cannot afford another minute of inaction from President Biden. Harris, while you have publicly defended the vice president, Even you must be discouraged with her inaction. Are you, Joe? We've all made mistakes in hiring. We understand when someone else needs to be assigned to a task. We sincerely urge you to find someone else in your administration to assist you in getting a handle on this border crisis. So they're just kind of being a little condescending there, right? Listen, Joe, look, I know being president's hard. It's very difficult for you to get through, 5-minute speech. I know it's hard, but hiring and firing, everybody else has this problem. So you're in good company. A lot of people have difficulties here, but it's pretty simple. Let's just, find somebody else in your administration. Let us know if we can help. So who signed off on this? Let's take a quick look. We got Glenn Grothman, obviously, Jim Banks, Kevin Brady, Andy Biggs. He's here from Arizona. We've got Mike Johnson, James Comer, and the rest of them. So a lot of them signed off on this. Lauren Boebert. Who else? Anybody else stand out here? All right. So the list keeps going on. Mike Gallagher, Madison Cawthorn, new addition to Congress recently. Scott Fitzgerald, Mo Brooks. What's up, Mo Brooks? We got Marjorie Taylor Greene signed off on that, and Louis Gohmert. All right, so that was the letter over to Congress. Now, some interesting things are happening at the border, but not because of immigration. It's because of COVID. Of course you knew that. Homeland Security says that they're going to be restricting non-essential travel at our land and ferry crossings with Canada and Mexico because of COVID. We've got a new variant that's spreading around allegedly. And DHS says that there are positive developments in recent weeks, and it's participating with other U.S. agencies in the White House's experts working with groups with Canada and Mexico to identify the conditions under which restrictions may be eased safely and sustainably. All right, so that was it for that segment, and you saw the clip, the next slide coming up, R&R Law Group. This is where I work. This is my law firm here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We can help good people facing criminal charges find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases, and beyond that, in their lives. So if you happen to know anybody in the state of Arizona who does need help with a criminal charge, we would love the opportunity to help. We can help with felonies, drug charges, traffic violations, DUI charges. We can help clear up old records. We can help remove mugshots off of the internet. We can restore your right to vote, restore your right to possess a firearm. Lots of good stuff. So our mission is just to help people get things back on track, and we would love the opportunity to be able to provide that assistance. And if you don't need any actual legal assistance, well, knowledge never hurt. Little knowledge can go a long way. They say an ounce of prevention is worth whatever of the problem or something, whatever that phrase is. So get your knowledge is my point. You've got law enforcement interaction training, how to deal with the police, available now at gumroad.com/Robert Grueller. 2.5-hour course. If you go there, you can poke around. I have a whole sort of a big description about what is in here, and a lot of good feedback on that. Pretty, I think, fun course. I have a interesting way of organizing the topic. How do you deal with the police? Well, I've read a ton of law books. I've been practicing since 2013, and I've got a lot of material that I can go through. And so if I wanted to say, hey, here's how you deal with law enforcement, I could literally give you stacks of books. They're right back there. And just say, read all of this. Or you could take this 2.5-hour course and you can learn everything synthesized into the 1, 2, 3 rule. The 1 rule, the 2 questions that a law enforcement officer can ask you that you have to answer, and the 3 responses if they don't ask you one of those first 2 questions. See how that works? 2 that's allowed, 3 responses if it's not one of the 2 allowable questions. Everything into the 1, 2, 3 rule. Check that out. Available now, gumroad.com/Robert Grueller. All right.